There are so many functions in Python, and you already know some, but you didn't know there were functions. So in this lesson, we are going to take a look at the top most used integrated Python functions. Okay, so let's start. I already created our new file. The first function that you already know is print. It's important to you to know that everything that goes inside the parentheses is called a parameter. In this case, we pass in a string as a parameter. For example, hello world. We can execute this and we will get into the console the hello world. We can also pass in as a parameter the number 1 or the number 15, and it will also execute this to be 15 into the console. The second function that we are going to look at is the input function. The input function allows us to get a certain value from the user to be able to use that data or that information later on in your code. For example, we can get their name, typing in. Let's create a variable because we need to store the value that we get into a variable. Name is equal to input, just like that, then parentheses. And now the parameter that we are going to pass to this function is the text that we want to appear on console so the user know what to input. What's your name? Then let's try to print out print name, and we will get asked for our name. In this case, it's Juansi, and hit enter. And then we will get our own name printed out into the console because we printed out the name. Now we can concatenate this with another thing. For example, message equal to hello, put a space, plus name. And select the message, and then we will be asked for a name, for example, Pepe. Hello, Pepe. Fantastic. It's important to note that the print function returns a string. It's important to know that because if we ask for a number and then try to add this number with another integer, we will get a syntax error. We need to convert this input that is a string into a number. For that, we use the following functions. For example, so if we got here a string with the value of 20, let's see if this is actually a string. Let's print the type of string. Type is also one of the most important functions that let us view which type of data we are handling. So let's execute this, and we get what's your name, Juansi, and we get hello Juansi and class str, because type of the string here is a string. So that's because we are getting str. So how can we turn this string into an integer? Convert to int is equal to int, then parentheses, and then the string. Here you go. Now let's print the type of the convert to int. And if we execute this, we will get asked for a name, Pepe. And then we can see the type of the data that was a string before. Now it is an integer, like we can see. It's pretty easy. We can also turn this number into a float. Let's execute this again. We'll be asked for a name, Pepe. And there we go. You just convert it to a float. If you want to convert a number into a string, just put in here str and execute this. Put in your name. And there you go. You converted the 20 into a string. Okay, so here's another function that we are going to use. And as you can see here, we have an unsorted list of numbers. 1, 5, 43, 7, 0.6, 2. It's unsorted. So how do we sort this list in the correct order? We can print the sorted parentheses numbers. Execute this. Now we get the sorted list printed out. As you can see, there you go. 0.5, 1, 2, 5, 7, 43. What if we want to get the highest value in this list? And we use the max function. And then we get 43. What if we want to know the lowest value? And we use the min function. There you go, 0.6. What if we want to know what's the length of this list? Then we use the len function. As you can see, the length of this function is 6. That means it has 6 elements. We can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Okay, so now let's take a look at a function that will allow us to create a range of numbers to be able to validate or create a condition. But conditions and validations will be covered in another lesson. But let's take a look at the function. The function is called range, and just like that, range. And now inside the parentheses, we pass in 2 parameters, the start value and the end value, separated by a comma. If we want to create a range from 0 to 10, we put in this. Now let's say that we want to print all numbers from 0 to 10 into the console. So we would do a for loop that we will also cover that further lessons, but I'm only doing this for the purpose to show you what range can do. So So for E in range from 0 to 10, print E. There you go. Now let's print that out. As you can see, we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in just 2 lines of code. In just 2 lines of code, we printed out all numbers from 0 to 10. And here is the interesting thing. We put in 0 and 10. 0 is the starting value and 10 is the end value. So the first value that is going to print it out is 0 and the last one is 9 and not 10, because the range is from 0 to 10. 10 is already outside of the range. So the last number before 10 is 9. If we want to get 10 and not the 0, we need to increment this by 1 and set here 1. This way the counter will start at 1 and end at 10. Let's try that out. As you can see, we get now the wanted result: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is how the range function works. Okay, let's do 3 more things before we go. So there are 3 more functions that also are very important, but these are not functions at all. These are called methods. So instead of writing them like, for example, print and parentheses, and inside the parentheses we pass the parameter that we want to print into the console, these methods are written like this. For example, names, and then with a dot you execute the method. So how do I use them? Imagine we have a string, just like that. String is equal to, I don't know, let's try hello, my name is Juansi. Just like that. Imagine you have a string, you wrote everything wrong. So now you want to be able to print this string, but in the correct way. So only the first letter of the sentence needs to be a capitalized letter. All the other letters need to be a lowercase. So let's print the string, but now we execute a method on the string. So we put point, now let's say capitalize, and now we put the parentheses. This is the way that you write down a method. If we now execute this code, there you go. We get hello, my name is Juansi, and it's correctly spelled like a normal sentence. If we now want to be all the text in lowercase, then we use the lower method and try to execute this again. Then we get the whole text in lowercase letters. And if we want the whole text in uppercase letters, we use the upper method and try to execute this again. And there we go. We got all the text in uppercase letters. Okay, so these are the most important functions and methods that are included inside of Python. You will need to become close friends with these functions because you will need them every single time. I hope you learned with this lesson, and let's see what we do in the next one.